Hey, it's Karri Flatla here for this week's Friday Fire at Remax Real Estate Lethbridge and KarriFlatla.com. I have lots of good news to share for Q3 Lethbridge real estate. I just pulled a whole bunch of numbers this afternoon. We know we've had a really robust summer. We know the inventory has started to come down and that there's lots of activity and buoyancy in the Lethbridge residential real estate market like I've never seen in 8 years of practicing real estate. But there's nothing like pulling numbers to really confirm what the truth is, where the myths are, what's really happening, should we be concerned or not, this kind of thing. So digging into the numbers is always one of my favorite parts of this work because the numbers don't lie. Just to hit the highlights to start, and then we'll drill down into some of the sub-markets within Lethbridge. But what I did is I pulled year-to-date numbers, so right up to end of September. So what we're looking at is we're comparing January to September, those numbers for 2020, the year of COVID-19, and then we're going to compare those to what the same numbers looked like for the same time period in 2019. And these are really important numbers because now we have 3/4 of the year done and we can really get a good picture of how COVID has impacted or not impacted the market here in Lethbridge. And we know COVID officially as a pandemic became a thing in March. So cumulative days on market is one important thing to be watching for. And it really is unchanged if you look at the overall average from January to September. So again, pointing out we're just looking at residential real estate in the city of Lethbridge. We are not looking at board stats or Southern Alberta stats. We had 88 cumulative days on market for January to September 2020. The same number last year was 91. So I mean, virtually unchanged. It's of course longer than anyone would like it to be in general, and that's always been the case in Lethbridge. If you go back further than 2019, it was more like 75 days on market was the average. So it has become a little bit longer. Now that said, you and your real estate agent have a lot of control over that number. You can't control the market, but we do absolutely have control over days on market, and we can talk about that in other videos, but there's lots of things we can do. The first 30 days is always the magic, and that's what we shoot for. Number of sales year to date. So for 2020, January to September, we've seen about 1,265 sales. Last year, it was actually a little less, 1,212. Again, round those numbers a bit. They're not perfect. So we've actually seen a little bit of an increase year to date in residential sales. Active listings, this one is interesting. So for the month of September, we have about 670 active listings, and today is October 2nd. So let's just say for October 2nd, because you can only really take active listings as a snapshot in time. But 670 listings. Again, in the time that I've been selling real estate for 8 years, I've never seen residential inventory that low. We're generally well over 700, if not over 800 in Lethbridge. This time last year, we had about 815 listings. So inventory is coming down, which is great. And I'm going to dig into that a little bit more in a minute. Sale price, we've seen a little bit of a bump. So year to date in 2019, average residential sale price was about $293,000. That's now just a smidge over $300,000. Pretty interesting, right? So the inventory is coming down. I would say pricing is probably getting a slight bump, but we'll see. Pricing is an interesting thing because it kind of can fluctuate a lot, and then people think, oh, well, prices are going up, I'm going to make money on my house. Well, it doesn't work like that. But really what this tells me is that the market is still very stable in Lethbridge. It's buoyant, but here's where it gets interesting. When we look at months inventory, So what is months inventory? That is, if you took all of the homeowners that are currently on the market waiting for their home to sell, how many months would it take for those homes to come off the market because they were purchased? That's months inventory. Some people would call it absorption rate and state it as a percentage. So months inventory right now is as low as I have ever seen it in Lethbridge, ever. And that's comparing even to past spring markets. This is as good as I've ever seen it. And what's really fascinating is that's across the board for the most part. So I had to double check this number when I pulled it today. There are 3.5 months inventory right now in the city of Lethbridge. That is that is just miraculous for the city of Lethbridge, because we usually have, I feel like a broken record when I talk to homeowners. We usually have way too many homes on the market. Right now, we're in this really nice, balanced market, and in some cases, leaning more in favor of a seller's market. So rare that we get to say that to homeowners. So, and if you look at certain pockets of the market, it's really interesting. We have 3 to 3.8 months inventory in the 100 to 200,000, 200 to 300,000, all the way up to 3 to 400,000. That's really good. And even in the 4 to 500,000 market, there's 5.6 months inventory. That 400,000 to 500,000 pocket is usually saturated, and frankly it's saturated with a lot of builder inventory, high 300s as well. So it's all sort of cleaning up. The inventory is cleaned up a bit, and we're just moving into a more balanced scenario, which we just haven't seen in a long time. The builders have really pulled back and started unloading some of their inventory over the past 2 to 3 years. They're pulling less permits now with pandemic, increased cost of lumber. All these different market forces are just putting a lot of downward pressure on the desire to build. So this is good for homeowners. It means you're not competing with your own builder of your house building more product down the street, which we see all of the time in West Lethbridge. It's a huge frustration for homeowners, and we're just seeing that all start to level out a bit after years and years of saturation. The only pockets of the market where there's too much inventory that I could see, and the numbers are so small it's not even statistically relevant, is in the 7 to 800 and the 900 plus. You have a few listings out there, they don't sell that quick, that kind of thing. So 400 and under, we have 3.2 months inventory, and 400 plus in Lethbridge, we have 5.2 months inventory. That number is usually a lot higher in the 400 plus market. It's usually just saturated out there. So this is great news. And then if you want to look at the trend, because I track these things all of the time, we have 3.5 months inventory across the board in Lethbridge. Now, October 2020, in June, we had 7.2 months inventory. And going back to March, we had just over 9 months inventory. So you can see how it's just, the inventory is just leveling off to the point now where we have a much more balanced market. So this is good. This is great news. Now, some people are asking, why is this happening? Can this last? And I think there's a few factors. Number one, money is cheap. So if you can get 2% interest rate right now on a mortgage, that's almost free money. Number two is we have very strong ag sector this year, bumper crops in southern Alberta, and that has an amazing trickle-down effect into the local economy in Lethbridge. So yay for our farmers, they're having a great year, and those people and those businesses spend money and they invest in the local economy. So thank a farmer. And number three, I think also there has been pent-up demand. So COVID, the lockdown, a long winter, people feel cabin fever, and by about May, June, people were dusting themselves off and saying, I don't like where I'm stuck at home. They start reevaluating their residential situation. They start looking at their finances. Maybe they realized, okay, I'm not going to get laid off. All of these things sort of were building up, and then by June, July, it was just like bang, the market just unleashed itself, and people, came out in droves to both sell and buy homes. It's interesting because we've had a lot of clients this year on my side of the desk where they are doing that. They're selling a house, buying a property. Maybe they've already bought a property and now they have to sell their house, that kind of thing. So really, really interesting market right now, and worth keeping an eye on it. My advice to homeowners is, if you even have an inkling about the need to sell your home or make a move, now is the time. Do not wait. If you have been getting advice about waiting for the price of your house to go up, or waiting for the market to change, or waiting for COVID to be over, that is bad advice. That is just bad advice, because we can't predict how long this kind of market is going to last. I hope it lasts. Lethbridge is a very stable economy. We have high government sector here. We have a strong ag sector here, both big positives for the economy and for jobs. But nobody can predict the future, right? An economist can't predict interest rates, and a realtor can't predict what real estate's going to do a year from now. So there is no reason to wait if you are thinking about making a move, other than very personal reasons to do with finances, and maybe you can't make a move. But if you're waiting for the market to change so you can make more money or profit off your residence, that's not a good reason. Now is as good as I've seen it, and I've been doing this for 8 years, and I've talked to lots of other very experienced people in the business, and they have the 10,000 foot view like I do, and they're all saying the same thing. So real estate is a good news story in Lethbridge right now. If you have any questions about how this impacts the value of your home, or your journey in terms of making a move to the next home, just give us a call or send us a text at 382-7335. We would love to hear from you and help you on that journey. In the meantime, it looks like we have some terrific weather this Friday in October, so do enjoy it. The snow will be flying soon, and we will see you for next Friday Fire. Take care. Bye-bye.